Here's our hospitality room. The Indiana room. Some of the displays.
Now, if these are over there, there's Retail AT10.
Huntsville, early in the morning, 8:16 a.m., 8:16 a.m. Welcome, George Field alumni. Going in for breakfast, which they do every year at our reunion time.
That time, and I lost my minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. This
and you
carry
were,
on just like this.
Oh, you got your pass? Yeah, mine, I don't know where it is. I guess it got thrown away, went through my family stuff.
John, you want some juice?
Go.
hurry up.
Oh, this you can do anything you want, see it.
Oh, I can?
And I can even hear you. It'll be, even what you say will be on there.
Oh, who's in here to eat? Anybody?
Well, we got a little crowd here. A few
Cuss words. My mother used to refuse to cuss. She said in front of something like son of us, she would say, "Sucker on my bastard." Instead of, she broke a fingernail, instead of saying the right word, she said, "Oh, shite." And a man's private parts, because I have to use it later, she called a tallywhacker. You'll catch this later. When I was assigned to go to Chaboy, India, I didn't know where the hell that was, and never heard of it in my life. Nobody on the airplane I was on knew where it was, including the pilot. Somehow we got through South America and Africa and into India, Karachi, and I stayed in Karachi for maybe 10 days. And the reason was they gave me in gold bullion over $1 million to deliver to the Chinese government. in Tinsukia to stabilize the government for Chiang Kai-shek. I arrived in Chabwa, and I took the gold out to the Chinese, and they wanted to see the Thompson submachine gun I had and explain how the hell it worked, and I showed them.
Sound coming from the speaker.
So that night, we were housed in tent, and I'm sure all of you have been that route. They had the worst earthquake they've ever had to this date in India. I never woke up. My tent mate said I was hanging on to that cot and it was bouncing 2 and 3 feet in the air, and I never woke up. And I wondered what everything skewed around in that tent, what happened. And they told me it was an earthquake. I couldn't believe it. I was transferred that day to Sukating, India, which is about 40 miles north of Chabwa, which is a few miles east of Tinsukia. We had 5 air bases in the Air Transport Command there. We had Sukating, where I went. We had Chabwa, which was the main base. We had Mohenberry. We had Tezpur, which had the B-24 C-87 aircraft, and Jorhat. Everything was really quiet over there. We didn't have enough airplanes. We didn't have enough people to fly them if we'd have had airplanes. So we sat on our ducks from June basically till September or October. We did nothing. We had to fight for AT-6s and Norsemen to get our flight pay in, flight time in for our flight pay. And you know that that's a pilot's dream to get that flight pay in. It's half of your base pay. Finally, aircraft started. The first aircraft, T-46s that we had were those old Hamilton Standard hydraulic propellers, 3-bladed things that go flying off the aircraft the time when you were trying to cross that mountain. Finally, we started getting the better propellers in the GE 4-bladed electric propellers. I flew that damn thing. The first guy that took me across there, a man named Burrell, Bob Burrell, and he said, "Tom, if you want to stay alive over here, you better learn where the hell you are." Now, we had 3 routes across that hump. One was the first called the Able route, the Baker route, and the Charlie route. Now, the Able route went northeast into what we used to call the Angels Playground. Now, that had Mount Everest in it. I'll start with that. But we learned how to fly those valleys below the summit of the ridges running there, because the Japs were only 40 miles away down in the Fort Hurst Valley with 0. They could shoot. We could shoot out the window with a .45 pistol. But that's all we had. So you better stay quiet over there, down below those ridges. We had a few, good friend of mine, Strankowski, got it. He thought he'd be brave and go straight across from Baker out on through that Fort Hurst Valley, and they got him. We didn't like where we were, to say the least. But I got to figuring that I had filed for B-17 school in Salt Lake City when I graduated, but the director of flying, Major Miller at Blackman, said no. He said, "You're going to the ATC because you can fly instruments good." I didn't know it make any difference to me. But it probably saved my life, because C-17 pilots didn't have too much to say about what they were doing in that airplane. They just followed the leader. And they blew you right out of the sky. So he probably saved my neck. Although I had a few brushes with it myself, I flew that enough that the commanding officer used to fly with me to get his flight time in across that hump. I can remember Cy Morehouse was his name. He was a colonel. He was a TWA pilot. We went across there one night, and you can't believe the trouble we had with thunderstorms, lightning. Every raindrop hitting the windshield lighted, lit up blue flame. From the windshield wipers, the flame was shooting straight out from the aircraft. We were traveling 200 miles an hour. We got to Yunnan and landed in China. Colonel Morehouse said to me, "Are we going to have this all the way home?" And I said, "No, because we'll get that midnight 100-mile-an-hour winds going to Harmattan and monsoon winds going across there and blowing them down, going home." He said, "Well, it's a good thing, because by God, we're staying here till that thunderstorms quit." But a lot of things happened over there that people never heard of. From Georgefield, I don't know how many of you got over into India and flew that hump, but it wasn't a pleasant experience. It wasn't pleasant at all. Fortunately, I didn't have a lot of trouble until down in Calcutta, they made a new brigadier general by the name of Bill Tunner the head of the hump flag section. So now I had been made the chief pilot of the trooper thing, and he called all of the commanding officers, Cy Morehouse, myself, down to chapel. We didn't know what it was for, but there was a big push on to deliver freight to China. So Tunner came in, a brigadier general, brand new, and he said, "Boys, the hump will never close. Weather will not stop you. All pilots are expendable." Now, I was only 19 years old, and I got up on my feet, and I said, "General, you're full of shite. If you think I'm going back to Secreting and tell my pilots that they're expendable, you're crazy, man." Well, now that Morehouse jumped up on his feet and he started raving. He said, "You got to remember, General, he's just a kid. He don't know what he's saying." Oh, boy, he went on, and he got me in that seat headed home, and he really ate on me for a while. Well, we got home. Miller's Webb was the executive officer, and he heard about it. He came to me and he said, "Tom, we got to get you out of here. That general will come for you. He's brand new, and you got away with it at the time. He's going to come for you." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And he said, "We're going to TDY you, temporary duty you down to Chadwick to the Air Service Command without orders. And you're going to fly the APOC shuttle. That means all parts on call." Well, the shuttle, I ran that shuttle for 30 days, and they said I had to come back and do something else. But Tunner was looking for me, and nobody knew where I was. So Morehouse said, "I've arranged for you." He said, "You've had time to be 25, and I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, General Saunders wants you to fly him in B-25 around India and China, and you can take him across the hump," and I did. for another 30 days, and then they sent me home. But everybody asked me, how in the hell can a first lieutenant, captain, non-combatant get the medals you've got? You've got a Silver Star. How in the hell did you get that? Well, fortunately, General Arnold, although we were classified over there and every crewman was, we were non-combatants. He forced the Army Air Corps to give us the medals we deserved. We went across enemy territory. I went 125 round trips across that damn thing. 124 and a half because I left an engine over there. That's how I got a Silver Star. I didn't. We had a young man in the records section, Lieutenant Garcia, and he's the guy that broke these glowing reports about what you did if you had trouble and what have you. He got me a couple of DFCs, he got me a couple of air vessels, and he got me the Silver Star. What happened was, China's lowest altitude is 6,000 feet above sea level, except out on the Pacific Ocean. Midnight, I forget, sometime right around midnight, we took off from Yunnan, China. I didn't think much of it. It's been a easy trip over, unloaded. We all went in and had eggs. China's famous for eggs. Did you know you can eat eggs over there that are 400 years old? So help me God. And they're good. They bury them in pits. Mark them. Might be 400 years, but they taste good. Anyway, we came out and took off this night black as pitch. Well, I've been there so many times I knew wherever rock was sticking up, so I was climbing out, and my co-pilot, his name was Eichholt from Pennsylvania, tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Tom, we're going to lose the right engine." Now we were empty, no big deal, so we lose the damn thing. Feather and go back in. Well, just about the time he said so, I realized we didn't have to talk very loud because the other engine quit. I ordered the crew out. I had a crew chief by the name of Long. And Long never wore a parachute. He threw it out in the back end, but I guarantee you, he had to set a world record, getting back and getting that shoes on, and we had a radio operator on that ship that had never been across that hump. First flight, and he froze. Long was out of the steel mills in Birmingham. He just picked him up and threw him out the door. That boy never flew again. He came home in a boat. But the crew got out, and I was trying to get out myself. And I got around behind my seat, and it was dead, but the damn left engine cut back in. And it threw me over the side of the aircraft. And fortunately, I looked out the co-pilot's window, and there was our damn airfield down below us, lighted like a Christmas tree. And I thought, oh boy, I got this made. I got back up, righted the aircraft, sat down in my seat, couldn't find nothing. No microphone, no earphones, nothing. So I sat down in the seat and that engine quit again. But I was getting in position to land that thing dead stick if I had to, on that Yunnan airport. Of course, the tower didn't know anything about it. I couldn't tell them. So, engine cut in for a few seconds. I got onto a base leg and on a final approach. When that end of that runway came up and I cut that power, the trouble with it, I'd forgotten the ship got hydraulic fluid, the pump from the right engine to the left engine. So I didn't have hydraulic power, but the gear had gone down by itself, I mean, when I put it down. That baby hit the ground. I had to go 100 foot back in the air. I was over the top of the control tower. I could see that. I wasn't buckled in because I couldn't find the ends of the damn strap. About 4 more of those good coordinated bounces and I finally pasted it on the ground. The crew had bailed out, of course. So Garcia wrote that due to my sterling gallantry, I had fought first to that air crew and got them out of there and safely into the ground. And that's how I got a Silver Star. So you see, it's not what you know or who you know, it's how it happened. They raised some hell. They didn't get cigarettes over there in the PX for months. About 2-3 months. Didn't get beer, didn't get whiskey, didn't get nothing. As I say, I didn't smoke, but I traded my carton of cigarettes for beer. And I did drink that. And Jelly gave, we got 2 bottles of Old Overholt, and that's the rotten stuff you can put in your mouth. It is dry and it is horrible. They used to give us 2 ounces of that when we came in for briefing at the end of it. I wouldn't drink mine, I gave it away. But I gave that bottle of Old Overholt ever to my parachute packer. I wanted that baby packed right, which I needed. But in closing, I don't want to keep you up. I know you got a lot of things you want to do. So let me tell you a story. 3 Englishmen were sitting around the table talking about the Guinness Book of Records. First Englishman said, well, I have awful small feet, and I think I'll go down to the Guinness Book of Records to see if I got record small feet. The second guy said, well, look at my hands. They're small, maybe they're a record. I'll go with you. Third guy says, my tallywhacker is pretty small. And I think I'll go with you all too. So the first guy went into the office, came back out in 5 minutes, had a $1,000 check, smallest feet in the world. Second guy went charging in, came back $1,000 check, smallest hand. Now the third guy goes in. 5, 10, 15 minutes go by and he hasn't returned. Finally, he comes out of there. He's holding a check for $5. And they say, what the hell's the matter with you? And he said, well, I got beat out. Have you ever heard of a guy from Terrell, Indiana named Tom Daly?
Joe Wiggins back here, and a couple of years ago, there was 9 of us here. Went to George Field. We all wound up in India. 9 of us got back together. It's been 49 years since we've seen each other. My wife said, I can't get over this. She said, you guys just started talking like you'd seen each other yesterday. That's what it is about when we come back to these reunions. We like to talk to each other and all our experiences. It's good to see old friends. It's nice to see all of you here tonight. I think you all know my wife had open heart surgery on Tuesday, and she is expected, I'm not saying for sure, but she may come home tomorrow. She won't be able to be here, but
card.
Thank you very much. That's why she didn't hear it mine. Yeah, got
He didn't tell you that his wife was my high school teacher.
That's why I'm here. I met my wife in the USO here on the 26th of March. We got married on the 5th of May. One day, 92, I was writing up a resume and I delivered it to Allie and she said something about you graduated from high school here in Marksville. I said, do you know Mildred Hannes? She's my school teacher. Where is she? I said, she's out in the car. Boy, I want to see her. So I got drafted right then to be George Field Association secretary, and I've been had that job ever since. But it's like coming home, you know, it's old home week, and we really enjoy these get-together. We have a lot of fun working together, planning these reunions. We're glad that you're all here, and I understand they voted this afternoon to do it again next year, so we're going to pursue that for the year, try to get everybody back together.
Did they tell you we're going to have a hangar party next time you have to get the Sycamore Strunners back?
Well, I can do that.
Isn't that right, Al? And Al plays the guitar, so he's going to go. You got a whole year to practice now.
Well, we hope you enjoy it.
We're all going to get rides in your
We're
airplane?
glad to see you coming back.
I don't know whose airplane it is.
Reestablish old friendships.
We've had some new people come in, and we all haven't met everybody. So would you all stand and give your name, where you're from, what class you were in, or if you're an employee of George Field, or what have you? Have you started up here? It won't take too long. And then I've got a few little drawing pieces to give you. I've got little drawing pieces.
Stan Gates, class of 44D, I2, CBI, I2. I gave our 44D, B24 Europe.
When I stand here and Nelson, civilian employee for Air Force uniform. Character,
And that's it. I gave off the pedestrian team, wrote up on there, American. Almost not the same.
Yeah, I'm Mel Rice, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I was 44E, I moved C-47 to troop carrier. Did the other two deployment, we had our own hub. And we're getting weak through the on standing range, so we have some stories from that. I empathize with you as much.
Lloyd Frank, 44E. There's three of us over here, 44E. I have two B-24s out of England, 28 missions.
I'm Mickey Aldridge, and I was a junior hostess at a Mom Cadet Club. I'm Mary Ann Kennedy, and I'm a cadet hostess also, and I'm Jackie White.
Harry Swift, 43B. I was in the 17th in Europe, shot down in our first mission, spent 2 years in the POW camp. And my wife Betty.
Jim McEntee, 44E, CBI, flying PBY kind of limits over the hump. You had a rough time flying C-46s and 47s over there, try flying a PBY Casino over there. That's fun.
North Dome, Classic 44A, New York.
I flew 38 missions over Germany, it'll be 17. And I flew 15 combat missions in the C-46 over North Korea. 100 bombers. Okay. 100 bombers.
Al Farmer, 43J, and I flew 24s in the
Maryland with Japan. This is my wife there. Thrown into the war as a young man, I had to fly the hump as a flight engineer in between two green pilots.
I was one of them.
And you've never lived till you've been with two young men that's 19 or 20 that are just gung-ho. We're sitting in the middle. Of course, I was only 19 myself. I didn't have a Kotex to the flop. But when we was flying over there, we 3,000 gallons of gasoline in drums. We land in Kunming, China. At one end, roll it out the door, go down the other end, take off, go back in another one. Out of, I think it was Tezgan, they did 200 flights over the hump in 24 hours. They, I agree with you, the old 47s, you can't beat them. C-46s, you can blow them up and never miss them. But it's just a shame that there's so many things that come out of that war that is not recognized. And this is the last generation that's going to ever be able to tell it. Once we're gone, our grandchildren never know what went on at all.
Unless you tell them.
You know, they don't care. They really don't care.
Come on.
I've lectured at Notre Dame twice, Indiana University once, Purdue University once, Indiana State University once, for young people in the aviation education. You can hear a pin drop just like when I was talking to you. They're extremely interested and they all come up and talk to you when you're done. Yeah, but the sad part about it, they're not teaching. Yeah, I was taught history, about World War I. I knew a lot about World War I. Hey, you talk to children from school now, they don't know anything about World War II. What's that? What's the home? Well, we're trying in the Pilots Association to correct a lot. All of us are going out and speaking to schools and students in the aviation programs there, and they're interested. I'm sure they're very. Oh, it's somewhere along the line somebody failed, because when you don't teach history, that's what life's all about. Well, probably the only way we're going to get another one is to have some kind of another war. Yeah. That's a hell of a way to learn how to do it. You realize how much it would be for us to have 707s across that hump? That'd be just stupid. I flew 31 years with Pan American. And you can either go around a thunderstorm or you can go over it in a 707. And the 747, I guarantee you can get above anything. Because I've been to 45,000 feet in a 747, flying it myself. And I guarantee you there ain't no clouds in it. They're at 40,000, but they're not above that. I think the young people are going to be very well educated, hopefully, if we run our program right. The Hump Pilots Association to let people know what went on. We've got a program now where we want all veterans to wear their medals 2 or 3 times a year, Veterans Day and what have you, because young people ask questions of you when you go around with your medals on. Really, they do. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted.
My name is John Jones. I'm 43 eyes. Went to B-24s and like whip, I went down. Ran out of gas in Belgium. Sixth flight, and I was a guest for about a year.
They don't glide too well without that 100 octane.
Well, they don't fly too well 5,000 feet above your predicted altitude either. That's when you run out of gas.
Yeah, without the 4 engines, you mean?
Well, I was down to one.
You had one?
One was still running. They just started conking out. Number 4 was still running. And over the coast of Netherlands and Belgium, right at the border. Unfortunately, but I lost 5 of my crew. Apparently landed in the water. 5 of us landed on the land.
You part of secondary? Your secondary division? What group?
What?
What group?
Oh, 458.
Don't kick these out.
You 458?
453rd.
453rd. Well, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of us are over there at the same time.
Yep.
Secondary division.
Yes.
Your wife.
My very
Mechanic out here, 707, 706, and 711. One of them was a B-29 mechanic gunner.
And his daughter,
My
Nita,
daughter
excuse me.
Anita, I'm sorry. She's good, she's
Yeah,
good.
She's precious. I'm trying to find a friend for her. Keep it up, Allie. You're getting in trouble.
I'm Crawford Hicks, 43D. I don't see, we haven't found too many 43D people here. I think we have, what, 3 of us, Tom? 3 of us? Yeah, 3 of us. Went into B-17s. The hump, I've heard much about the hump. Scared the daylights out of me to think about having to fly the hump. I'm with you fully. As far as I'm concerned, it ought to be declared to be pure combat. I really mean it. I know I wasn't there, but everything about it, and I wouldn't fly the hump for anything in the world, because I can't stand it. Anyway, but I had 10 missions and got shot down, and I was a guest for 11 months. And listening to the frequency, because I didn't get shot at anymore. Believe me, that was good. Did a little prayer on the ground. Thank you, Lord. I mean, that's it. And then I said, what's my fiance and my mother going to think? And that was a big concern. You think about the pain that your loved ones went through when you all were declared missing in action. You know, that's rough. That's rough. Oh, yeah. Had all sorts of good fortune. Didn't have a bad cold when I was over there. No air medal, by the way. Thank you. Thank you. Got back, got married, returned to college, almost got through law school, University of Louisville over here, and got recalled in 1950. Happy as a clam in mud when it happened, because I was happy to be back in, and spent the rest of my time there. Not flying, but I was an OSI for you guys who were, you know, the spooks in there. Retired 25 years, and then some here, and I'm very happy to be here. So wonderful outfit. Tom and I have been together for a long, long time. Hughes and Hicks, you know, we're all in the same alphabetical group. So we've just together, and we've had a good time, and I certainly enjoyed your talk. You're Jack Manners, the television personality. He was my class too. Anyway, thank you all.
No.
Yes.
Get up, Wendell.
I want you to tell a famous story.
Which one?
Well, you almost flew with Morgan, but you was in his group for a while. And then the other one.
That's the 92nd bomb group in England. Still has his name. And they transferred me on task service to the 91st group where Colonel Morgan was. I enjoyed that base. Found out later from their last year that I'd gone about 4 missions with them. Didn't even know the man. And we got acquainted, and I got to have a picture made with him. And still honored. Such a nice guy. He's an all-around good guy. I galloped back alone out just for 90 seconds. Continued my mission, got 4 more in, and got shot down on the 4th, and I made 8 missions altogether. And we were going to bomb the submarine plant in Kiev. Got shot down there, we shot our control cables out, so we had no choice but to get out. And we become yes for 2 years to the German government. Thanks a lot.
His wife Betty, my friend.
Co-pilot.
Did you give him free Coke?
Cherry milkshake.
I'm John Brent. I'm up to it. Got over there, you remember. One time, we had a train right outside the city. We had a flight squadron of B-47s were at the identification. Shot them down with 147 troops. And I got over there right at it. And I had a crazy power when we was flying. That was serious. We tried to circle that thing while that gas coming up. No wonder we didn't want enough down there.
43J, and we graduated on November the 3rd, 1943, and I think November the 21st I was assigned as co-pilot of the B-24 crew out of Salt Lake City. We went to Allen Gordo to do our flight training. We got one flight in and we were stopped. We sat there for 2 weeks, and we were finally told one night to get packed and go to Charleston, South Carolina to finish our training. We didn't know what was going on, but they were starting the bomb department down, and they took all personnel that was not connected with had to get off the base and move out. We went to Charleston, South Carolina, got our training, went to overseas, and we're doing pretty well. On my 38th mission, I only got knocked out of the sky. Airfield, lost 2 crew members. One couldn't get out of the airplane, and the other was beat to death by civilians. They almost beat me to death, but it called me that I was saved before German soldiers came up and started firing their rifles at me. They were Hungarian farmers, is what they were. And I had to go to the hospital in the Budapest for about 2.5 weeks, and finally got out of there and ended up in Salt Lake City. Which company? West Company. Yeah, West Company. I was on that death march they had up there in January of 45. I froze to death. But it ended up down at Budapest down in Munich, where we were finally liberated by George Stratton's 14th Armored Division. And I like to tell the story about him. Everybody thinks he was like a SOB and so forth and so on. There was a group of us. We lived in the tent, slept on the ground, just like it was. Well, we had it about 3 months down there. But on April the 29th, that's the day we were liberated down there. That afternoon, here comes George, General Patton, and he came up to our group after I was doing so forth. I was going to see the inside of this tent, and he came up just nothing like a storm. He treated it. He stayed about 2 minutes. Said, "Gentlemen," says, "I hate to leave, but there's 1,000, 2,000 Germans down this road, and we're going to have to kill everyone." But anyway, we got free of that, and finally got home in June, and about 6 months after we got home, I became very active in the Air Reserve, starting a 516th Troop Carrier group there at that time, about until 1950. I was very, very active, had about every job they had out there. In 1950, I had the opportunity to pick one up here. Three of us had a real good friend who's been stationed with us there. He's now signed in Washington. I don't know what his office was. He had hair when he told me that was using poles. And John Ford liked to get on the military air transport service. He said, "As far as I'm concerned, how quick can you get orders to us?" 3 days, I think 3 or 4 days, we all had orders to military air transport. We flew C-54s primarily, and C-47s. Halfway during my time there, when I'm the type of person who's not flying, I want something to do, so I had a chance to get a job. Started where all the most of their transportation was troops out of South America and Puerto Rico and places like that. And we had the receptionary for them. I was in charge of that when I was flying. We had an office. Also Air Force Base in Panama. Continued it on down there. And then I got the word that the captain down there, it's time for him to come back and stay. The first time I saw him see you all, I told him, Colonel Peterson, we're out here, we'd like to go to all brothers. So that was really a luxury job down there. 3 days I had orders to go. So I finished that out. Korean War stopped when I finally got out. They built that in reserve when I do T-33 flying those. And it's still ever. One of the first fighter jets. F-80. No, it wasn't F-80.
86?
84.
Okay.
Yeah, 84. It's a van of it. And by that time, I accumulated 20-some years, good years. And I had a job that took me all over about 4 states. I finally gave it up then. And during the time, they were kind enough to let me go with Lieutenant Colonel.
First, I don't forget. My wife had it for 53 years.
Hey, 53 years.
I'm Ray Miller. I was a 43 grade graduate, and he was my upperclassman. I flew B-17s for 3 missions, and the rest of the time I spent in Charlottesville for 3. Liberated and got back into flying after the war, and then I got into intelligence work with the Army Counterintelligence. And then I went to OSI in Maine, and San Francisco, and Presidio, and down in Los Angeles. And then I got recalled back to duty as an officer and finished up in the military police type police operation. And then I did a whole bunch of space and missile stuff before I retired from the Air Force. And everybody knows the rest of it. I've been here every time.
My wife Wanda, 43K. We've heard a lot of talk about 17 versus 24s tonight, and I guess that'll go on for the next 55 years. But to show you where it really boils down to not much, I was stuck pretty much with this fellow Ray Miller all through the cadet program. He went into 17s, I went into 24s. Then we both ended up in Germany last year of the war, drawing flying plane doing nothing. Farewell. No you. That's all.
I was married in the chapel. Next week it'll be 55 years. That's the only thing happened in my life.
My wife, Hazel, and this is Sergeant Switek over here. And I graduated in class 43D, and I happened to be 3 of us here this time at 43D. And they called me back as an instructor. So he had my name before him for well over a year over there in the squadron. And I was instructor in the squadron run here at Georgia State. And then after that period of time, I went to B-24s, and I had the privilege of flying new and overseas. And I didn't go around that place, but I did look at it when it went by, when it did. And I was assigned to the 98 bomb crew. I believe Paul was in the 98 bomb crew. And they came in one day and they said, all of Germany's oil supply has been knocked out as of today. And we said, well, that's good. That sounds good. They said, it won't last much longer. Well, I think it was the next day or the next one, they had us all fly all of our airplanes out to Joy, Italy. And when we came back to the Hogan Harbor, they said, everyone with 15 missions or less is being deployed to the Pacific. Don't write anything, don't tell anybody, don't tell anything. Well, we got on the boat. And when we got on the boat, actually Sally said, well, the 98's moving out. And she said, 2 days out of Gibraltar, we're going to sink. Well, believe it or not, about 2 days out of Gibraltar, we waked up that morning in the Mediterranean. We were in the Mediterranean for 4 days. And we waked up and we had a destroyer on each side of us and a plinth overhead. And you won't believe it, but they stayed with us until 2 days out in the Atlantic. And then she came back and told the boys at home we wasn't early enough to get on the boat. They had to say that she had sunk us, and they didn't know what she had. But we were very fortunate. And I was back in the States, and somebody said April the 29th. I landed April the 29th back in the States. I was the last one overseas and the first one home because I left on March 1st. And I only flew 4 combat missions. One of them was real close, out of India. And so that was it. Then I got out. I asked her then, after we got out for a while, he's going to make a B-29 instructor out of it. And so when the war ended in Japan, I didn't have to go to the Pacific. And in Germany, I didn't have to go to the Pacific. So when the war ended in Japan, I said, what do you want to do? I got a chance to get out and stay in. You know what she told me? Let's get out. She said, I'd rather get out than have to work all my life. She didn't know what she was saying.
My husband had been in the quartermaster corps on the George Field. His name was Edward Potts. And this is my friend now, Mickey Geary.
Introduce me as her husband, I'll introduce her as my wife. Finally, we had a member come in 44A. I've been waiting 7 years to meet another 44A man, and I didn't know him when I was here. After graduating December the 7th, I took a route like many others and went to Charleston Air Force Base in Charleston, South Carolina, and learned how to be a co-pilot of B-24. And within 2 months, I was overseas flying missions. So I was very young. When I graduated, I was still not 19. I spent the 20th birthday with 2 or 3 other people around here in Starlight at 3. And then took the march through the cold weather, went to Nuremberg, stayed there for a month or 2, and then down to Mooseburg, was liberated on this famous date that's been mentioned before, April 29th. Came back home, and moved this girl and finally married her. December the 29th, 1945, went to VU, Purdue University, worked for the federal government in biological warfare for 12 years in my hometown. Thought that was the answer to the whole war. Still think it is, but Nixon outlawed it. Went out to Ames, Iowa, became chief engineer of an animal disease lab that studied nationally found animal disease. 1978, I had a little trouble, a couple heart attacks. Next year, retired, and a month after I retired, I had my first bypass surgery. And enjoyed retirement ever since then, traveling. Made it 18 years on the first bypass last October, right after our meeting. Last year, I had my second bypass. Doctor said she wasn't going to do it 18 more years from now, because she wasn't going to be practicing. Thank you very much.
They're here. 4, 5, 6, 7.
Now, Miss, why don't you stand up and leave your account?
Now, how many were you in Solid Love 3?
4, 5, 2. Anybody else got anything they want to say?
Yes.
Okay.
There's not very many civilians here, but I've enjoyed all of your experiences, and I want to thank all of you for having started us so well. Mr. Barry's wife, I have a grandson, and yet 11 years old, and he is so interested in our history. We need to do a better job of teaching, no doubt. But you guys are great, and your wives have put up with a lot. I can see that capacity. Remember. But thank you so much for all you did for we civilians.
Did this, and I didn't want to do it because I thought, they don't want to hear me talking about me, but for 4 hours, she had me telling about all of my experiences in both going through flight training and in combat and in POW camp. And I treasure those tapes that I made, because this will do so much of what we're talking about helping our descendants know what in the world happened. I talk to my kids, and they really won't listen to me too much. I don't know why. Whether I don't know whether they feel that they don't want to feel sorry for me, or I don't know what it is. But they will listen, but not to me about this thing. But I'm saying that if each of us were to make a detailed tape, just sit there and do a tape of talking to them about what we did, you'll find it's of tremendous value to all of us later on, to all of our loved ones. I think it really, I'm so happy that they made me do it. And I'm saying for all of you all to do it too. I think it'd be great value to
Let me add, just try to recap it. Everything I did, right or wrong, in flying. I did not go into my military life per se, but everything I did in flying, which is World War II, which is the reserves in between, which is my 2 extra years in the Korean War, which is some of the reserves afterward, but all the stuff was flying. I ended up with over 100 pages of my handwritten. My daughter has this putting together the whole picture, the whole package, and some of these days she's going to do great on a computer, of which I am totally illiterate, but anyway, but she is very good. She can put the whole thing together and share it with her brothers. And I promised a couple of my buddies I'd let them see some of this stuff. Some of them are in that, and some of them are rather hilarious stories that did occur, particularly in training. But I did, do pretty much what you're saying, and they are delighted that I put all this together. But I took the whole thing from the time I started in CTD, which is the College Training Detachment up at Buffalo, with a little Piper Cup, all the way through the B-24s and the C-54s that I went through in World War II and then later on the Korean War. And all of that is packaged into quite a big gang. And I think it's an excellent idea, as you say.
I'm just real pleased. Of course, the tape's the easy way to do it.
Well, tape is, yeah, I went the hard way. I wrote it all down.
You did. But the whole thing is, you put this down and you don't try to edit it. That's the big
I didn't edit.
Don't try to edit it.
I just kept it flowing.
Just keep it in whatever comes to
Right.
mind. Say my second air days, and Allie's got a copy of all of it.
I'll bring it tomorrow.
Right, our 57 right now.
I have 5 rows of tapes that were made from George Field from the beginning to the end. And I had started copying these on paper. It's microfilm, and you can't stand there and read microfilm. So I go over to college, and I have got now over 1,000 pages, and I'm not used first of all myself. I hope and pray that the Lord lets me do these 5 rolls of film. I'm going to have to either rent one of those things to do it or buy one, because when we get the George Field Museum up, I want this all to go into the George Field Museum. And I can tell you there was 19 classes, and last night when I was looking for little details on something else, the first year there was 1,900 and some. I'll go back and look for that again. Now, this
It must be close to 10,000, I think.
there was on the average about 3,000 or more people on the field at the time, wasn't there, Mary Ann? Okay. What do you think, Mary? See, she was in the cadet.
270, we were at about 270 in our class.
Yeah.
There were 19 classes.
19 classes.
Whether they were all that big or not.
I mean, all the books that I
had, I mean, there was the month I never been counted.
We could probably, I could probably come close to it. I don't know. But
More than you would think.
250, sometimes 300 or so. When it first, you think so?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's the highest some at 7 and 8 squadrons. Some of those.
That's 2 classes, though.
Huh?
That's 2 classes.
How many was in the squadron? 25, 30, 35?
I don't know.
And then if you had 5 squadrons, there's 150. If you had 30, if you had 7, 8
No,
squadrons.
it's four squadrons in each year for each class.
Look at some of those books down here.
There's 4 squadrons in each class.
You had 4 squadrons.
Oh, Switek said
She had book, she moved 3 times in 2 years, and she lost her book. But she had about 3,500 go through the club.
Okay, this is the story of life. I thought it would be nice if they got a pair of wings tonight. You gotta stick their head down in your wrist and put it on, so we decided we better not pull out. And he's the one that said, you can't do that.
Hold it up, Marianne. Get out of the way. Allie, do you need some help?
If you like.
I can't take those in this. Give it here, I can. Well, I'm gonna get you before he takes the picture. There's all the gals with their wings.
Thank you.
All right. Good catch. Take you guys a picture in about 2 shakes here. So don't leave.
Melvin Price.
Melvin Price.
Hey, right here.
Price. Hey. Wow. All right. Okay, now here comes the grand thing of it all. In 1994, we had a poster display at our local library for World War II. So who's the lucky guy? One ain't all that fact. Oh, this is my shirt. You've got 2 of them. Harry Felicity's not here. Draw again. See what he missed?
Oh, you got to get it.
It's Harry Swift. Where are you, Harry? You get my...
Here's some of the crowd that's gathered here for our flag ceremony.
One more time.
Check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me? I'm going to have a jet fly over sky high, and he's going to make a circle and come in low. So,
That's what we're waiting on.
Ali, is someone going to take off and make a flyover at
We're up there now.
You're up there now.
He's got the radio phone.
Okay, now we'll give opening prayer and then raise the song. The ladies, are you in place to sing the national anthem? You want to stay back there or you want to come out here? This is your first flyover. We'll have open prayer. Open prayer will be conducted by MBET Post 33, Brian Cutoff. Anybody want to lay a bet which way you'll come in? North, south, east, west, or straight down? Here we go.
It wasn't him. I couldn't catch him.
1,400, Bob. Not maybe times 1,400.
Allie, you want to go ahead with opening prayer?
Go right ahead. That's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, we'll go ahead with opening prayer. Let's pray. O light, shine to our hearts, O eternal goodness, deliver us from evil, eternal power, be thou support, deep and quick within us, O God, the sense of thy presence, and refresh us with thy power. Most gracious God, who knows our necessities before we ask, behold us here, coming from all various homes and works, asking a common prayer for light upon our way, and for peace in our hearts. Give ourselves to thee this day, to rule and govern us, that all distress and evil thoughts may be driven from our minds, that we may walk with joy in the light of thy glory, and the way of thy command. Amen. All right, maybe we can get the flag up to that jet. I think we'll go ahead, Alex, if it's all right with you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Girls, got your ropes untied?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jerking my jaw.
Color guard, present arms.
We'd like for you all to join in to sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the clock is whispered, o'er the land of the free, of the brave.
There is a pleasure and an honor for me to be here again this year to be the MC at this 7th reunion. How many of you in the crowd has been here 7 times? Let's see the hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you didn't travel far enough. It's this year. And this time I'd like to introduce you to my post commander, Harold Smith, Post 28 Lawrenceville. Harold? If the colors, if you feel like you have to fall out, lay your colors down and fall out, and I'll call you back up whenever we start placing your music. Is that okay? If you don't be afraid to fall out. Veterans from George Field, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to be here today. I served 20 years in the Air Force as an aircraft mechanic, so I have a feeling of sharing something with you guys, although quite a year's difference. So it's an honor to be here and standing in front of you. And I'd like to let you know that Lawrenceville Post 28, Legion, Bridgeport 62, Legion Easton 160 from Connecticut, Alling Post 30, VFW 1157 from Vincennes, also the TAP 7 District VFW commander is here, VFW 4549 from Robertson, the AMVES from Palestine 33, American Ladies Auxiliary who sang that lovely song, and Sons of the American Legion. Thank you for giving me this honor today. Bob, I'll turn the mic over to you. We have so many things going today here in March County. We like to be all places, but can't do it, so we kind of split up. At this time, I had down for the mayor of Lawrenceville to give a little speech, but I haven't seen him. But I imagine he's over at Sumner. There's groundbreaking at Sumner for a prison, so that might be my future home. I think it's better treatment than I do. And then our senior vice commander of the Department of Illinois, Jack Colbert, is not back from the state convention or national convention in New Orleans. I had him down to speak a little bit. So since he's not here, we're going to go right on with our program, and we're going to lay the wreath. Ali, if you want to come up and take over and get your flags out of the way, then we'll lay our wreath. Well, now it's coming up. This flag raising ceremony is one of the oldest traditions there is in the United States. It started back in 1812 in one-room schoolhouse in Littletown, Coleraine, Massachusetts. They came from all over the countryside on horseback, wagons. They brought a picnic lunch with them. They made a day out. For today, we come to jet. We have a F-18 that's going to fly by pretty soon at 2,000 feet, so it'll be below 2,000 feet. South to north. This way to the south.
This way south.
In the F-18 is Commander Bill Sizemore, Mr. and Mrs. Sizemore's son from Florida. He's in the F-18. A little bit before 7, and he told me what he's going to do.
Looks pretty good, doesn't it? I know.
See what you can do when you have friends?
He's on the way.
Well, he's the commanding officer of VFA 18 Squadron. What's the number, Helen? 86.
86.
VFA 86. In Cecil Field, Florida.
Here's the other way. Turn around. Back up here. Sheer down.
And before we start placing the wreath, I'd like to tell you again, as I have in the past years, this American flag is in trouble. It's in big trouble. We've got to change things around. As I understand, down at National Headquarters, or National Convention, the tape sent down from Washington, D.C., saying they're going to act on the flag amendment this month. I hope so. You take back, in 1984, there was a guy burnt the American flag at the Republican Convention in Dallas, Texas. The state of Texas convicted him. He took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court overruled the state of Texas. They legal to burn the American flag, freedom of speech under the First Amendment. Here comes our other flyover. This Supreme Court overruled the state of Texas back in 1989. The American Legion and all the other posts, VFW, MVets, Eagles, Elk, everyone that joined together in fighting to change the Constitution to protect our flag up there. I know every one of you gentlemen out there waked up, the first thing you seen when you was overseas on the American flag. I did. I was aboard ship. I always looked up there every morning as I got up, and that flag was still flying. I still want it to fly. Either love it or leave the country, I say. So now we're going to remember the ones that didn't come back. Allie, you take over.
Airfield veterans and all these civilians who have been out here to honor this program today. We love you, we appreciate you, and God bless you. For each subject I have, such as the POW, the cadets, and that, we're going to place a flag and our little wreath in memory of those living and those that are not with us. Our first flag will be placed by Bill Blocker flag and all of our field judges who were in prison war camp. Bill, what's your comment? Where's the flag? Flag will be representation. Airfield has 19 cadet classes who graduated from here from December of 1942 through August the 4th, 1944. And the gentleman that's going to place that flag is Norman Doe from New York, and he was in class 44A. Norman? Paul Stillion, ex-POW, class 43J, has been here 7 years. Every year he has been faithful to George Field and acceptance. He is placing the flag in honor of the officers. Melba Lasky, we don't have any wax present this year. Melba Lasky worked at the field in PX, and Melba's going to place the flag in memory of our wax. Melvin Price will be putting a flag in for our civilian personnel. Melvin, what flag are you on? 44E. Lloyd Crane from 44E will be placing a flag in memory of the enlisted personnel. Our last to be remembered is Troop Carrier, who came in after the cadets were here. Troop Carriers flew C-46s, 47s, and towed the C-4A glider behind them. One of those people is John Brandenburg for Troop Carrier. Last year I forgot John. He said, please don't forget me this year. Thank you, John. That is part of our program, and I appreciate each and every one of you that showed up today in this nice warm sun. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Before you get away, I have a certificate of appreciation. This award is presented to Ali Deloria in appreciation of your many years of outstanding community service. Presented to by the American Legion 23rd District Zone 3 Commander Robert G. Weber. Ali, long time coming. This isn't the only thing that Ali does. Someone told me it's on the die. If you'd like to return it, I'll take it to my wife. Maybe I can get on her. And thanks, Ali. Like I say, this isn't the only thing Ali does for our community. And again, many, many thanks, Ali.
Thank you. I thank you all very much. One thing I failed to say is down at the bottom of our stone, last year after the dedication, you felt there was an empty space there, so the committee came up with "We Salute You." So we had "We Salute You" put on the stone this year. And we do salute you guys.
you to the 23rd District, past 23rd District Commander, State of Illinois, Dale Ferguson, and also I have with us today as a guest, Ronette. She is a Lady Commander, the VFW of Vincennes. She is the first Lady Commander in the state of Indiana. Let's all give her a hand. Now I'm going to ask those two to place our wreath over here on this side. Indiana and Illinois can work together. We all got to work together as a nation. Right? And now, at this time, my guest speaker is Dale Ferguson, past 23rd District Commander of the state of Illinois. Dale?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a privilege to be in the company of airmen. I served in VF 211 on the Bonhomme Richard and the USS Hancock in Vietnam. I was an aviation electrician. I had an uncle who was stationed at Clark Field in the Republic of the Philippines before World War II started. He was there when the Japanese invaded the Philippines, and he served 2.5 years as a POW before he died in captivity. So I keep a warm spot in my heart for my uncle I have never known. All have asked me on kind of short notice to deliver a speech today, so I'm going to do my best. Hope everyone will bear with me. It's there. It's there. It's there. What is it? The flag of our country. The stars and stripes. Old Glory. The emblem of our country. And each thread of the fabric in all these flags have woven in them blood, sweat, and tears of all Americans. The blood of the servicemen, veterans who died or at least gave part of their bodies that this country could live. The sweat of all hard-working Americans who made a better life for themselves, their families, and their communities. And the tears of the widows, the Gold Star mothers, and the orphan children whose heroes never came home. All this is in our American flag. It's not a piece of cloth. It's not a rag. I hope you all know, with all the information coming out of Washington the last few days, like Bob informed us a few minutes ago, Senate Joint Resolution number 40, a Flag Protection Amendment. And I'm embarrassed to even have to be here talking to you about it. We should not even have to discuss it. This should be a done deal. To protect the flag of our nation should not even be discussed. It should be a done deal. And I just returned from New Orleans from the American Legion National Convention. While I was there, I had the pleasure, the privilege to hear several dedicated Americans speak on the Flag Demonstration Amendment. Among these was the chairman of the Citizens Flag Alliance, which all veterans groups subscribe to, retired General Patrick Brady. With him, he had 5 Medal of Honor winners. Each one of them, in their own special way, told what the flag meant to them and why we should have an amendment to protect the flag of our nation. Last Wednesday, the Gallup people from Gallup poll released a new poll that showed 75 to 80% of those Americans surveyed favored an amendment to protect the flag of our nation. In the meantime, 49 of the 50 state legislatures have petitioned the federal government for an amendment to protect the flag. I'm sorry to say that neither senator from the state of Illinois has come on board to support this amendment. Some will say, what about free speech? Well, you know, according to Tommy Lasorda, speech is something you do with your mouth while you're talking. But I'm talking about the prevention of the physical desecration of the American flag, and that is not covered under free speech. We have to convince our politicians, especially those two senators in Illinois, that this is the right thing to do. This is what Americans want. This is the way we feel. I would like to request, I would even implore and beg each and every one of you to contact the senators in your state, especially those from Illinois, and remind them that we are tax-paying, voting Americans, and we want this amendment passed. In conclusion, I just want to say that the Flag Protection Amendment is the right thing to do. It's the proper thing to do. The people all want it, so let's just let the Americans decide. Thank you.
Would you please approach the microphone, please?
Good afternoon. I have here a poem that I'd like to read that was written by Irene A. Rivet, who's the wife of the next POW her husband Roger. It's titled Full Glory. I saw that flag you blown today, mixed the mud and flat and smoke so gray. I saw that flag, red, white, and blue, and she waved to me. I'm here for you. She was covered with blood when I saw her again, clutched in the hand of a soldier in pain. I caught a slice of her once in a prison camp, mildewed, muddy, dirty, and damp. But she never looked as pretty to me, that symbol of hope from the land of the free. If that flag could talk, what stories she'd tell, for she's accompanied heroes through hell. She's been torn by the bombs bursting in air. She's been hailed to the rockets they fled. She's been shot, walked on, spit on too. But she won't be destroyed, whatever you do. Because we who love her will pray for you, that you will come to respect this red, white, and blue. But for now, broken-hearted, all we can say is we brought you the freedom to burn her today. Thank you very much.
I have another certificate of appreciation I'd like to read it to you. The gentleman is not here. It's to honor our sons of the American Legion of Lawrenceville Post 28. This certificate of appreciation, this award is presented to Darren Blair. Appreciation for your outstanding service of the sons. I will present this to him at our next meeting. If it wasn't for our son, Post 28, it would be hard for us to put on the gate. These girls have done wonders for me, have helped me pull off some of the programs that I had got started. We have a little town north of here, a lot of these people don't know about, called Hudsonville. There's a heritage home up there that handles 75 to 80 veterans. Some of them are homeless. Some of them have no place to go when they come from the hospital. Come there to recuperate. Some are there waiting to go into the hospital. Some are there. As I now found out about this heritage home, I've done quite a little bit for them. And Our Lady's Auxiliary found out what I was doing, and they're stepping in, more or less taking over for me. They're helping me out tremendous to make sure our veterans up there at Hudsonville are not forgotten. So at this time, I want to thank everybody for coming out, helping us put this 7th reunion on. And that's just about all I have to say. Dale has said a mouthful, more than a mouthful. like I say, that flag's in trouble. And we gotta change it for it. One nice thing about it, if they vote on it this month, we'll find out what senators did not vote for our flag. Election coming up in November. Vote the way your conscience. I wrote my senator, a vote for that flag in September is a vote for you in November. So now we're going to wait and see what happens. Now at this time I'm going to call on my lady to sing God Bless America. Girls, are you ready?
Crank that up a little bit, Mary, in front of this one here before I get. Make it short, the number.
America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with hope. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, from the ocean, white with hope. God bless America, my home, sweet home. To the prairies, the ocean, white with hope. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, girls.
Yeah, you got next year.
Are they going to be a next year?
Yes, sir.
We hope so.
Amen.
And now at this time, I'm going to call on another one, our district guys, District 23 chaplain, to give our closing prayer. Willie, can you fire?
Yeah.
Grab a rifle, I'll be right out. All right, this time we'll have our closing prayer. Our goalie holds 20 or 30 in Olney, Illinois. Thanks for coming over, Howard. Cover. Oh God, we thank you for the flag of our country and for all that the flag represents. We thank you for giving your victory to brave and valiant men, and have given your last measure of strength in order that it might wage over the land of the free, the home of the brave. Thank you for giving us the idea of life and liberty, for serving senses and homes of freedom and mercy. Thus, limitation and our deep unworthiness, we pray that our flag may bind together the many elements in our dear country, and thus in our rank as 100% Americans. Make us who have served our country in time of war, willing at all times to uphold and defend the Constitution, our government, grant this union of sovereign states in the name forever and indissoluble, unified, the same flag. Amen. Amen. Make sure you're right off the same ticket. There's that earth. First one, ready. Aim. Fire. Fire. Fire.
Try this first.
I think it's not ready, isn't it?
No, try it, try it. Monument. They're great.
What?
You can talk.
Oh,
You can talk.
Big storm
straightened out on tables. I think we had some troubles where there was 9 or 10 at one table and 6 at another and something like that. I hope it got straightened out. I just want to welcome you all here to the 7th reunion the Georgefield Association has put on. We've been having a wonderful time since Thursday when people started to come in. We spent this afternoon out at the airport for a beautiful flag raising ceremony and had 2 flybys. We had a flyby by either the Navy pilot or Army. That's all right. I figured nobody was going to the Army whose dad was in the Navy. But he was flying an Army plane, so that's why I wondered. I thought maybe they put them together now, and they only built one for both of them now. The food is ready, but don't stand up yet. We want to have Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And then right afterwards, you might as well start going through the line. Everything is over there, and it's going to work out just beautiful for tonight. Thank you very much.
I've got to disagree with you. I'm going to ask you to stand as we do the pledge of the flag.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, I got lost here.
We'll ask the invocation now. Bow your heads, please. Lord, we've got much to be thankful for today. For the last 2 days have been wonderful, and we thank you for the committee and their hard work. We pray a special blessing on Millie Wheeler as she convalesces in the hospital. And we thank you now for the food. And we thank you most of all for your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior, in whose name I pray. Amen.
And then we'll follow you. Since we've been having such a good time.
And I'd like to ask something from each one of you. If they just stand up, and I'll get to you as quick as I can. So everybody who was here at Georgefield, cadets and or troop carrier, please ask you to stand. Way around. We want to know your class.
43J.
Your class.
What's your name, sir?
Al Farmitter, 43J.
And what else we don't know about?
Anything you want to say?
Real fast.
Are you a captain?
That was short and sweet.
You don't even want to say you enjoyed the reunion? You're coming back next year? And you're coming back next year?
Have you been here every time?
That's good.
No, 5 times.
5 times. Okay. Okay.
Well, I appreciate it.
That's a good idea. Ask them how they've been to.
And one thing, I'll be sure, the POWs, let us know the POWs.
POW2.
POW, okay, good. All right.
John Jones, 43I, POW.
Okay, we'll get the table back there.
What kind of plane did you fly, John? What kind of plane did you fly?
B-24.
Oh.
I mean,
Keep a count of those 24s.
is this your first reunion?
Let's start over there.
Yes.
Tom Hughes, 43D.
43D.
What'd you fly, Tom?
B-17,
Hey, there
What
you go.
class were you, Don?
43D.
43D. Okay, thanks.
I think Tom told me one time he was the oldest person in class 43D.
He was in his 30s when he was training to be a pilot.
He's an old man.
I'm probably the oldest person in the house here tonight, too.
Okay. How about your friend next to you down there?
I'm Harold Campbell, troop carrier. Didn't have a class.
No class. Bill Crider, class 44, man, or they sent you home.
Norm Dole, class of 44A, B-25s in Italy.
Good for B-25. Yeah.
Flew B-47s and also PBY Catalinas.
PBY.
What was your class?
Pardon? 44E. Yeah, Mel Price, 44E. And I flew the C-47s in troop carrier, and I didn't know this was made into a troop carrier thing until I came this year, so that was very interesting.
Yeah, they learned.
Before, nobody was much a troop carrier.
How about your friend?
Yeah, Lloyd Prang, 44E, B-24s.
That's a good airplane.
43K, B-17 co-pilot, wound up in prison camp with the rest of my B-24 friends.
Okay, Bill.
John Brandenburg, 805 TCC. I wound up in Italy with troop carriers.
Bill, you got
Bill Blocker, 43K, B-24 co-pilot, resident of Germany for a while. I was asked tonight, why, if the B-24 is better than the 17, why were there so many of us in WW camp? The obvious answer is B-24 won the war. We were out front there.
Okay, thank you.
We got a tough road.
Wait a minute.
Here we go.
What'd you say?
Jack Kennedy, my wife was the one taking the picture, Mary Ann. 44A, flew B-24s, 24 missions.
Almost.
23 and a half, but I got credit for 24 we dropped off. And then spent time with my friends in B-17s who were installed with me.
I'm ready.
You're right. I'm Paul Stillion, class 43J, that's B-24. I finished 38 missions and got the devil knocked out of me on the 39th over Germany. Spent 11 months there at the POW. And a little bit of the crew, we lost 2 crew members on the trip. One never got out of the airplane, the other one was killed with civilians when he hit the ground. And I just wanted to bring this up because a lot of people didn't know and it wasn't talked about, but Hitler had the deal going out where he was trying to get as many American airmen killed when they were caught rather than making prisoners of them. And they had me down on the ground beating the world out of me, and 4 German soldiers came up and drove these Hungarian civilians away and were beating me up. Got to the hospital in Budapest a couple of weeks and came out all right. So, it's right at time, not hard way.
We have another one over here.
Joe Swanton.
Yeah, being the administrative clerk in Training Squadron 1.
Great.
Lined up alphabetically in a classroom. My last name started with T, his was S, so we all had to sit, all the boys sat on the back row, and I was the only girl there. But it didn't do any good, they wouldn't even look at me. So bless his heart, I like to bring, and I better finish my story. See, I get sidetracked, that's what happened. Gene left high school early because he had enough credits to leave school. He joined the Navy as a little seaman, and he was little, about half as big as he is now. When graduation time came along, Gene's father was in the Navy, and Gene's father came to high school to accept his graduation certificate because Gene couldn't make it. Don't you think that's something? So, a real nice guy from class 45, I won't say anymore, but it's a privilege and a pleasure to have Gene and Helen here tonight, and think of all kinds of questions that you can ask Gene after he gets through talking. Gene Sizemore.
Down there in Longford, Our driver lost his way to get to the airport. We went around a little bit. But after that beginning, everything has worked tremendously well, and it's really a wonderful pleasure and an honor to be here with you and to listen to these gentlemen, 9 of them who were POWs, and the others who flew those beautiful B-24s and B-17s that I always admired, but I came along a little bit too late. And it's wonderful to have a class of 45, so many of them in attendance. That's the class I was with at high school. And they're all beautiful. They haven't aged hardly tall. They're all cute, the girls are. The men look a little grizzled. And some of them are balding. But they sure look sharp. And over this table here, I have my family, my wife Helen, 48 years, from Lawrenceville, Illinois. My friend Pat Rooney, we've been friends for more years than that. So pleased that he's here. My brother Jerry, who was in the Air Force, ladies and gentlemen, in the medical part. His wife Melba, my sister, my baby sister Linda. She reminds me of that. When she was born, I left home. So I'm 17 years older than she is. And her husband Bob. So it's really wonderful to have them here. And I must say that we were all affected by George Field. They and me and these people out here. And I wanted to go to work sooner than I could because of the flood. I worked at the bowling alley. Did anybody here go to the bowling alley? See, not enough of you went, and I didn't make any money at all. And so I would go out there by bus, and it got to the point where I couldn't afford to go by bus, so we rode our bicycles, some of the fellows and I. Ralph Smith was one, and some others. And but it was kind of risky going home at night on those dark roads. So I dropped that job and went to work working in a grocery store. But you know, I was so impressed by these guys in their uniforms and the airplanes and the marching, the whole works. I said, that's what I want to be. And so the year between my junior and senior year, I tried to join the Air Corps, Ralph Smith and I. And they wouldn't take us because, we hadn't graduated from high school yet. But you know, the Navy is very flexible. And before that year was out, 1944, I was in the Navy. And by luck almost, I managed to get into the college program and get into flight training to become a pilot. It was a wonderful, wonderful life of more than 3 decades of flying airplanes, as many of you have done, and it was just great. Now, my dad joined the service, and I think he was affected by all these military people around as well. He had 4 kids and a pregnant wife, so he wasn't going to be drafted, but he had to get in there, so he enlisted and went to war on carrier, the Intrepid, and saw a lot of action, kamikazes, the whole works. And of course that ship's the one that's in New York now as a museum, and perhaps some of you have seen it. It's a wonderful place to go if you're in New York. My brother Jerry's in the Air Force. My brother Jim joined the Air Force, but for a couple of years he was a night watchman at the civilian George Field while he was going to Vincent's University. And I think that was in 48 and 49, if I recall right. So we were all affected by these guys and George Field, and our whole city was. It was a pretty dead little town until the war and George Field. Some of our sweet girls married some of those Air Corps guys. I think we got one of them here, if I'm not mistaken, from Vincennes and some others. it was just an era that we will always prosper from, and we'll always remember it. I want to thank you all for that. You know, I take the Washington Business News and always look at the executive that's being described that week. And one recently, and they're asked, you know, what was the person, or who do you most admire? A lot of guys say their fathers, and I think that's a good thing. But one of them impressed me, and he was a young man in his 40s. He says, I'm mostly impressed by those who were in World War II. They're disciplined. They really won a war. You know, those of us who were in the Korean War and the Vietnam War, we call them conflicts because politicians didn't like the word war. We didn't really win like we did in World War II. It was more or less not quite a standoff, but World War II was a war that you all won because the whole country was united behind you. And we had someone here today out at Airfield who worked in the exchange, as I recall. And I worked at the bowling alley. Did my part. So I want to compliment you all, say it's an honor that you come back to George Field, and I'm honored that I can be here with you on this occasion. The ceremonies this afternoon were really super. And I was really surprised when Allie gave me this radio to hold and tell me to talk to the planes in the air. I tried to talk to that fellow in that beautiful American. Is he here?
Tom Hughes.
Oh yeah, well, boy, that's a pretty airplane. I tried to talk to you a couple times, but you didn't answer. But then you did, so that was fine.
A lot of traffic on the air, and I couldn't hear very much.
Well, anyway, I don't know what I was doing to this thing. And she said there's going to be a jet coming from West Virginia. And he'd check in about 2 o'clock, so I was waiting for the plane to check in, and of course it was a little bit late. But you know, I was amazed and dumbfounded to find it was my son flying an F-18 from Florida. And I was even more dumbfounded to find he was here when I came in the room. And I'm never surprised because I know everything that's going on. Just as I'm surprised by these beautiful people from Class 45. And it's wonderful to have you here. There is going to be a monument to those of you who worked and did service in World War II in Washington, D.C., and you can see the picture of what someone thought it might look like. But Senator Dole is out collecting funds for this thing. It's going to change a little bit, to the tune of $100 million. So he is doing a pretty good job at this, I think. I don't know where he's hit Rooney or not, but probably should. But he's hitting large corporations, small corporations, but he also wants the American public to participate as well, because it's going to be our monument. And it's going to be over there near the Korean monument, the Vietnam monument, the monument to women who served, the Lincoln monument, and President Franklin Roosevelt's memorial. All will be there together, and it's just going to be a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. My brother Jim is on the Vietnam monument. He was a pilot in the Air Force and was killed in Laos, 1969. You know, when you put on the uniform, as George Washington said, when you don the uniform, you are still a civilian in mind. You still have responsibilities as a civilian. Along that same line, we military people, when we finally become civilians, we still are of a military mind and still feel a responsibility for the defense of our country. Our country at the present time, as far as the armed forces is concerned, is in a very sorry state. Now, I have here in my pocket some words that chairman of the House Defense Committee made at a recent meeting I happened to be at. And even though I'm in the military and I work closely with the Navy League of the United States, promoting the naval services, educating the American public on the need for them, I was really taken aback by all this. And I'd like to recite to you some of the things that he said. He said that he had served almost 27 years in the Congress. He'd seen presidents, secretaries of defense, chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, senators and congressmen come and go. He has seen hot wars, cold wars, budget wars, a hollow military, build-ups and drawdowns. And despite this, and though the Cold War has ended, he has never been more concerned about the state of the military, about the state of national defense. For example, we have no defense against the accidental launch of a missile. China has ICBMs and has as many as 13 targeted against the United States. There's no way we can stop the missile if it comes our way. There's no anti-ballistic missile treaty with anyone. Rogue states and terrorists can purchase missiles and weapons of mass destruction if they got enough money, and you know it's happening. Cruise missiles with chemical biological warheads can be put together in laboratories inexpensively and require only low technology. We're without an effective theater missile defense. Russia may be missing as many as 100 suitcase-sized nuclear bombs. We don't know where they are. And what is the state of readiness to deal with these threats, he says. Regrettably, we're making the same mistakes that were made following every war this century. We're cutting our defenses too deeply and too quickly. You'll remember, many of you will remember, that early on, before World War II and at the beginning of World War II, we were completely unprepared. We had soldiers drilling with broomsticks. The same thing happened after the war was over. We let it run down very quickly, and we had to build it up again for that Korean thing. We seem to be in a between wars mindset. As soon as the war is over, let's dump everything. And if something comes along, something will work like that to try to put it together. And we've had time to do that in the past. But you know, in the past decade, we have closed over 900 bases around the world, and 97 bases just in the United States. The administration's request for the fiscal year 1999 defense budget appropriation represents the 14th consecutive year of real decline in defense spending. Over the past decade, we have cut back dramatically on modernizing, procurement spending by 70%, research and development by 20%. Military forces today are a third smaller than they were 10 years ago. We have cut back our active duty force structure by almost 30%. The United States Army is now the 9th strongest in the world. We cut back Army divisions by 35%. Reduced active Army divisions from 18 to 8. Reserve component brigades from 57 to 42. We cut our combat ships by 37%. We were shooting for a 600-ship Navy about 11 years ago. Now we say we'll be happy with 313. We've cut our aircraft carriers way back as well, down to 12. Cut our attack aircraft fighters by 45%. The Air Force fighter wings been cut from 36 to 20. Air Force bombers been cut 59%. In 1990, we approved the construction of 20 ships, but only 5 this year. It takes 10 or 11 just to maintain a fleet of 320. In 1990, we approved the funding for 511 tactical aircraft. but only 25 this year. We lose more than that. And in 1990, we approved procurement of 448 tanks. We didn't have any approved this year. Our training is suffering. Our deployed units are ready, but ready for what? They're ready at the expense of units at home. The training and readiness accounts are being rated to pay for contingency operations. People and parts are being stripped from units at home and are being sent to deployed units. Aircraft are being cannibalized. My own son's squadron, in order to keep 8 airplanes up, they robbed the extra ones because they can't get parts. Pilots are not able to get enough training time to maintain their proficiency at air combat skills. Tanks can't operate in training exercises for lack of funds. So troops then make sounds like tanks. Clank, clank, clank. They're a tank. Many believe we couldn't conduct just one Operation Desert Storm type war today, and certainly not with the same speed, effectiveness, and loss of life that we did just those 2 short years ago, 1991. The lessons of history tell us that there is little doubt that the next war will happen. It's just a question of when and where. So how can we preserve and build upon the great victories we won in this century's hot and cold wars? I don't know. What we have left, we have good men. I hear in my visits that the men in the military today are the finest ever. They're motivated. They're trying to do a good job with what they have. But really, we don't have a clear-cut policies on what they're supposed to do. And I don't know how to get around that. That's up to the people in the Pentagon and the White House to delineate those things. We wait for them to do it. It's not being done. And finally, as Ben Franklin said, if we fail to prepare, we will prepare to fail. So what can we do about it? Well, as the fellow was talking today about the Citizen Flag Alliance, we need to talk to our congressmen and our senators. And most of us are the silent majority. We think things, we talk things at the dinner table, but we don't act. And act we must. Every vote counts. Every letter to a congressman, I think, counts. Certainly counts more than not sending it at all. And we here who are so patriotic, 9 POWs and many others who served in one way or another, have got to get on the stick and be concerned, be informed. I hate to close on that note, but that's a challenge for us. And if we don't do something, nothing's going to get done. It's really great to be here with you, and I wish you well. And I'm just proud of every one of you. Godspeed.
And I'm the gaddest one in the whole bunch.
My name's Marion Robb. I'm a classmate of Gene. And I am totally in awe of you veterans that are older than our spokesman for the class of 45. I'm the only one at my table that didn't get beet juice on their clothes. So on behalf of our class, Gene, I'm sure you're well aware that we are very, very proud of you. And you did an excellent job tonight. Thank you.
Got something else you'd like to...
Class of 39, I don't fit.
All right. Would anybody like to ask Gene a question? He walked off and you didn't get a chance to ask him a question.
When was he on the USS Ranger?
I was on the Ranger in 1965.
I was on a Tiger cruise with my grandson, and the Ranger was the carrier coming out of the Gulf. 92, I guess.
I was there on the Ticonderoga when the torpedo boats came out and we started the Vietnam War. And then as soon as I got back, I was sent back out to be on the Ranger. And the Ranger came home because it broke down. But we flew off a little bit.
Thank you.
You're carrying all those bombs at 25,000 feet and above.
90 miles an hour.
With the glider business, and I would see them come over the low hills over there west of Lawrenceville, just above the trees, it looked to me, with a C-47 or C-46 towing two gliders, each towing two gliders. And I was curious about what kind of speed they had. What kind of... Did you take a glider into Germany? Cut loose? No. They cruised about 90?
Now, does Brandenburg know anything about the speed? He was troop carrier. Brandenburg.
Another thing I saw over George Field,
pulling two gliders. 90.
That fall of 44 was that they would spin over top of the field. It looks like they're spinning down to pattern altitude and then on in to make a landing. And the best way to come down was to spin. Is that true?
The glider?
Glider.
Yeah.
And pull up and spin.
Do we have a glider pilot in here tonight?
Only troop carrier guy I know is Brandenburg.
I'm asking a good question, John.
Yes,
I answer it myself.
He was in the first glider squadron that landed over in France.
Cherbourg Peninsula.
D-Day?
D-Day.
No, this is before that. The people didn't understand. I forgot what I read, but I got the newspaper article. But he was stationed down here at the field. And I want to tell you a little story. You all probably know Hazel Whitmer. Her daughter Dorothy was a telephone operator out here. And she said that he was in the hospital one time and he called and he wanted an outside line. And she said, "I'm sorry, sir, I cannot give you an outside line." He said, "Do you know who you're talking to?" She said, "I don't care who I'm talking to, sir. I cannot give you an outside line." He said, "My name is Jackie Coogan and I'll have your job." So he did not get an outside line and she did not lose her job. He had to go down the hallway and use the phone. If nobody else got anything to say, we are going to, okay.
I'd like to say, and I think, although I haven't gotten
Have you girls got the numbers for the tables? You cannot have the can that's under the little blue covering. That's my food. What I don't eat between now and Christmas, I'll donate to the church for the church basket. Once upon a time, about 3 months ago, I got a spike from the railroad track that train run on. So anyhow, I do not give away something unless I research the history about it. The train tracks were built in May 1943. Okay? The B&O Railroad Company is the one that put the main line in. There were 3 other lines, one going to the warehouse, one going to your coal bins. Remember how you used to have to stoke those old stoves with coal? And you people that lived in Florida and Texas, they didn't know how to fire them, so they about ran themselves out of there. So anyhow, I have gold leaf, one of those spikes, and my son has put it in a frame, and we're going to give this to the person that Jean draws their name out. See it?
Beautiful. Real gold. That's beautiful.
We was out there on Sunday looking for spikes. Couldn't find any. I think I was on the tracks are all gone. So I had a gentleman that works for Sheehan Pipeline to bring me some. He went looking and he found some. Hey, he's going to be the lucky guy.
The old Kreider.
I'm fine, John.
This is back on the shoulder.
Sorry, Miller, we've got one to go.
He can't win again.
I'm not through with you. Gene, I'm not through with you. You guys want to leave too soon.
Are you seeing him?
Yes, honey. Yes.
Look at him.
No, we're fine.
One more.
This is the one I want.
I keep falling through this crack.
Well, you got the high heels and they got the thing there.
About 6 months ago, I got the bright idea for
An AT-10 to be painted by a local artist. I had a picture, and he painted it. Now, who is the recipient of the painting? Painted by Paul.
It's written on front.
Let me sign his name.
I just want some suspense. Merton Wheeler.
He's not here. You'll have to draw again.
Too bad. Harry Felix.
Harry Felici.
Felici.
Your picture, Harry.
Well, that could be at 2 each at that one table.
It was painted by Paul Spangler, a local boy that loves airplanes. Oh.
No. Who has been here for 7 years? I think I've got an idea that there's about Charlie Lasky. Yeah, I had these on the tip of my tongue until I got excited. We've got 2 more people.
Yeah.
Who are you out there? John Kennedy. Who else? He's not here. Yeah. You get this later. We got one more.
Well, I asked who attended all 7 reunions.
Who all has been here for 7 times in a row? Kreider missed one. He told me that. You missed 2. We have 2 B-24 pilots.
He said number 2. Who's got number 2?
Jack?
Oh, thank you. Best airplane made.
You're right, John.
I just
It's only a rumor.
Paul.
I heard.
I was going to give you a 17, but somebody said, no, he flew 24s.
I couldn't take care of that home. That's pretty good.
I'll give the 17 to Joe Switek.
Right, yeah. Here's one I'm going to get a
So Charlie, you can have a set, or Joe, you can have either one. Maybe you wouldn't like to have that, you'd like that one?
Well, I prefer this one.
Okay, how about you, Charlie? The 17? Okay? Just the top one. Thank you.
Don't get too long.
All right.
A friend of ours in Lawrence County by the name of Don Myers. I don't know whether you know him or not, but Marjorie Myers is his wife. Was visiting in the South or somewhere. He's in the newspaper. He happened to see in a motel one night there was an air show the next day. And when he was going down to this area, I said to him, if you run into an air show, see if you can find a Corsair picture for me. He said, why? And I said, because Gene's coming and we would like to have a Corsair picture for all the guys to sign to give to Gene. Well, he told me to write to the museum down in Terrell, Texas. I wrote to them. I called them. I don't write. I called them and they said they had one. So they sent this picture to me, and before the UP man got it to me, it had grease or lard or something spilled all over the box, and the picture was a mess. So, Gene, you won't get no picture. So I had to return it. We finally got another one, but not in time for everybody to sign, give it to you. But in the meantime, when Mr. Myers was down there, he met some gentleman that was with the Confederate Air Force that said he knew you. And he said, I'll see what I can do for Gene. So if you will come forward, I have a picture that somebody sent for you. And on the back, this aircraft is preserved and flown by the Confederate Air Force in honor of the valiant patriots who fought for us in this plane. This picture is represented to Rear Admiral W. Sizemore by, and I got to give you the stack so you can read his name. I lost it.
Not you, Allie.
I even had your wife up there throwing around with me trying to find out if she knew him. Do you know him?
No.
Okay. Then it's his friend. The guy that you know is supposed to be flying this plane. I'll find out from Mr. Myers. He's supposed to come tonight and give this to you. But I thought that perhaps he sent us because he sent to Admiral Dean Sizemore. But I'll find out. I'll find out. I'll make a phone call and I'll let you know.
J.W. Conrad, you know, I've met a lot of Conrads over the years. I'm not sure this is the right one I know. But I appreciate this is a beauty. And I did fly Corsairs for a while, and it was a wonderful airplane, probably as good as the B-24.
Which is a good category.
Any last words that anybody would like to say before we have a benediction?
Yes.
We have newlyweds here.
Oh. 6 weeks, we would like a name.
Yeah.
My name is Fern Mickey.
Fern, Mickey, and
Now it's Agnes.
Agnes. What's the new groom's name? Jean. Why don't you come up front so everybody can see? Come on. Because you was here 7 years.
I just want now to prove that this is the greatest airplane ever made. When the Post Office Department made stamps a few years ago for the great airplanes of World War II, the B-24 was not one of the stamps. So due to that, it must be the greatest airplane.
We noticed it was happening.
You're all invited to stay and visit and reminisce or do whatever you want to. We're all here till 10, 11, 12 o'clock when everybody leaves. Jack will lock the door. We invite you to visit our memorabilia and look at some of the things that the people have brought to us. And we also would like to invite everybody who's a veteran to look at the World War II memorial over there. And if you know somebody in your family that is deceased, it is important that you get their name to Washington, D.C. so it will be put on this monument. I have some blanks for you to fill out. If I don't have enough for everybody, I'll send you one. But I've been rooting for this for 2 years. I've visited the American Legion, the VFW, and taken these and asked the people to please put them out. If we don't get our family's name on there, they will not be in that memorial. If you were somebody who worked in a defense plant or something of this nature, also send your name in. You are important too, and they're going to have a book of memorabilia before your name will be in the book of remembrance. This includes the women. There was a lot of women who went to work and helped defend our country. My work didn't last very long after I got out of school, but I will tell you that it was kind of a secret thing on the second floor of the Subtle Apparatus there in Lawrenceville. I was up there wrapping these little things, and I said to our floor lady, she's still living, "What is this thing for?" She says, "Well, it's something to do with the radio." And this is all I got. I ran into her here a few years ago, and I asked her, what was I doing up there? She said, "You were wrapping coils for field phones that were shipped to the men in service." So I had a part in that too. Now would you like to dismiss us?
Can we stand, please? Pray now that there might be a time when there is no war, but until then, may we do our best. In Jesus' name, amen.
Platform over here. Somebody came in and gave us the wire that you dug up and George Field.
Time to talk louder.
covered was used on the lighting system.
I forgot to tell you, nobody leaves without pictures. We want to take pictures of all the women. We want to take pictures of all the men. If somebody will help Mike set up chairs and move a table back there for us to take pictures. Class of 45, if you would all like to have your picture made with jeans, hang on. We have some wire here that is a piece of George Field's lighting system that run along the runway. Some guy brought a roll of wire in and asked us to cut it in two and to give it to people as memorabilia for George Field. So if you would like a piece, come and get it.